is the 16th century. From all over Europe, great ships sail west to conquer the New World, the Americas. The men eager to seek their fortune, to find new adventures in new lands. They long to cross uncharted seas and discover unknown countries, to find secret gold on a mountain trail high in the Andes. They dream of following the path of the setting sun that leads to El Dorado and the mysterious cities of gold.
My name is Jean-Charles Lopin. I'm born in France, live in France part of my life, live in the US and in Japan the rest of my life, and now I'm living in China. At first I was approached by a gentleman who is still today my very great friend named Mitsuru Kaneko. Mitsuru Kaneko in Japan had a company called MK Production. MK Production had developed a relationship with NHK. NHK, just to put it back in context, was the big public Japanese company, and NHK had never done animation really. The reason why is NHK was supposed to do educational, cultural, and animation was something that everybody else, the private company, were doing. And Mitsuru Kaneko at that time proposed to them to do something based on a book. He just had read a book called The King Fifth by Scott Odell. And Mitsuru has been educated in the US, speaks English absolutely fluently, and loved the book. And he proposed to NHK to do an animation based upon that book. The King Fifth is the part of the king of Spain, the fifth of the money stolen basically by the conquistadores in South America, and for whatever they were taken, they were able to keep 4/5 for them and to give 1/5 to the king. That was the main of story. We took the concept and started to imagine, before even the creation, before even NHK has accepted to put some money behind it, we decided to go ahead and to do something and to imagine the character. Most of the characters whose name appear in the book exist except Tao, but all that was adapted. We made them children. We put them in a different situation. What was important is that NHK was convinced that coming from a book, and a famous book, and a book which was also an historical book, for them it could be the good excuse to do animation. So NHK entered into a development deal with Kaneko, Mitsuru Kaneko and MK Production. But it was not enough money. And at that time I was a partner and working regularly with a company in Luxembourg called CLT, better known in France as RTL, and in England was named the radio RTL 208, if I remember well. And RTL was starting to have this vision that one day will be some satellite over Europe. The gentleman who had that vision was named Gus Grass, and he believed that CLT should develop a catalogue of rights for all Europe. And at that time I came to propose that cartoon to him, and CLT finally entered into a co-production deal between NHK and them. So NHK and CLT financed the co-production. And MK Production, Mitsuru Kaneko, and my company, by that time named DIC, DIC, did all the work, the physical work. Well, the first thing is, it was for me to constitute the team and to organize the team on the French side. I didn't speak very well Japanese at the time. I learned as the production went for both a series called Ulysses 31 and the Cities of Gold. So Kaneko was very much between us and helping all the process. And at that time I had to bring somebody on my side, on the direction side, because we had traditionally agreed to have a Japanese director and a French director. And I have been working since I'm 14, I believe, with a gentleman named Bernard Derriès. And had worked with me in animation. He's a passionate animator and director. And he had worked with me since he was about 17, I believe. And when this started, we had already worked together with Ulysses 31, sorry. And suddenly, I felt he was the right person for that.
My name is Bernard Derriès, but everybody call me Bernard, it's easier in English. And I was a director, a French director on Mysterious City of Gold. I met Jean-Charles Lepin a long time ago, before even, because he was 14 when I met him for the first time. In the early 70s, we met again. And my dream at this time was to do animation. So Jean had a company, he was doing film, advertising film, and I proposed to him to do an animation studio in Tours in France. 2 years later, we were about 120 people in Tours.
So Bernard came to Japan. He moved with his family. He was married with already 2 children, the third coming up. And he moved to Japan with his family to do the direction of the film. And Bernard brought a complete different dimension visually. Bernard is full of color. I don't know how to explain. I remember one of his teachers at Beaux-Arts de Tours, was named Paul Gimzan, was telling me, he was saying, oh, Bernard, il pisse la couleur, which is really literally, he pees color. And he had this sense of color which is very unique. We had some drawings done on the Japanese team, and the character drawing was pretty much done. But Bernard arrived, he brought a complete new dimension of the background, of the color, the richness of the universe, the depth of the universe. And the mixture, culturally speaking, is somebody who is very French, loved the French culture, and he brought that dimension also with him. And suddenly, the collision, I will say, in a positive sense, of the Japanese culture and the French culture created the Cities of Gold.
When we arrive in production, the Japanese have designed a lot of props already, a lot of mechanicals. We ask for some mechanical change, more fantastic, more futuristic, because they put on their drawing at the beginning, the mechanical was more corresponding to the 17th century. You know, when they put cells even on the Solaris, it was classical cells, you know, with texture. I said it will be good to be more magical for eyes of the kids at this time, and even for eyes of the kids watching the show. The kids, Esteban and Zia don't know about the solar energy. The kid from the 20th century knows about solar energy. So but it has to stay magical generally for the kids from the 17th century and 20th century.
Yeah, at the time the production started, which was a new experience between Japan and France and between two teams, we had to define a role for each other. We had at the same time another experience with Ulysses 31 with another company called TMS, and that also was not a very easy experience. But with the Cities of Gold, the big difference was Mitsuru Kaneko. He is certainly one of the brightest person I've met, culturally completely open, and understanding the need to put people who can work together. And he and I organized the team at that time.
Come on, give me your hand.
When we start to work with the Japanese at the beginning, it was a new experience for them. Before, the only experience with foreigners was to do work for them, to get paid to do work. So at this time, we were the first co-production with Japanese. So it was a new experience for them. It was a new experience for us. Day by day, it was a little bit difficult at the beginning. But we have great translators because the language was a real barrier. You know.
It was also fascinating for me because at the time I was learned how to speak Japanese, and Little by little, I was able to communicate more and more with the teams in Japanese. I didn't speak English at all. I was speaking only French, and suddenly I can communicate in Japanese. And little by little, it was becoming more and more obvious it was possible. So it was absolutely great.
You. You helped them to escape and led them to this place.
My role was really, as Kaneko's role, to coordinate, to make everything work together, and creatively to push the envelope. You know, we could have done that series in a very realistic way. But the dimension of the dream will never have taken off. So the dimension of the dream that Bernard was bringing visually, we wanted to bring in the story also. And if you suddenly put yourself in the head of the 3 children, in the middle of that strange war, it's not really a war, it's an attack, it's a takeover of a country by a stronger army, by a different faith, the search of gold, the greed. In the middle of that, you have kids, 2 of them looking for their parents. So the look suddenly that we gave to the children, the vision they had, changed completely. It's a different point of view. We put the camera where they are. So that means everything around them, if you look at it, we are not speaking about the war. We are not speaking about how the Incas was mistreated. Oh, it is in the background, it is everywhere. But it's from the point of view of the children. And the leading force is not to find gold, it's to find the parents, to find the father. I have to say that I've been always very touched by the quest for the father. And that exists in a lot of things I've done. Because I think as a child, everyone is always looking for who he truly or she truly is. And that also is looking for the parents. So my role was really to make sure that we creatively have this point of view kept, and that we do take off when it comes to the dream. That Bernard had the move and the cooperation with the Japanese team to go a different dimension.
Zia! Zia! Zia!
Well, the series was written as a conductor, originally in Japan by Kaneko's team. Kaneko-san had read the book, made a very small adaptation of it, and adapted the character, making them children. But at that time, the series was not fully written, it was just a conductor of the story. Then we started to write the thing, and I was not able to write in English, I was not able to write in Japanese, so I wrote everything in French on my side. And really we wanted to do Mitsuru Kaneko and myself in a very equal way. If you look at the animation today, you will see very quickly that there is a very French part in the background and the color and the way it is. That's really Bernard Derrier's touch, and it is quite French. On the other side, the Japanese did a lot of the character drawings, and Esteban has the big eyes, small nose of the Japanese character. So it was a combination of both. So when we had the writing and we had that conductor, submitted to NHK, submitted to CLT, NHK wanted to make sure it was enough room for them to put documentary at the end. Why documentary at the end? Because NHK was a public channel, had to do something which was educational. So we had to adapt all that. And suddenly, as we move from the conductor, from the synopsis, from the episode to episode conductor, the story started to take off. And the character of Pichu, of Tao, the relationship, and the relationship with Mendoza, which was an ambiguous character from the beginning. I will give credit to the Japanese, because we have a little bit tendency in France to be clear-cut in our character. The Japanese love that ambiguity of Mendoza was not good, not bad. What motivates him is greed, but little by little he gets very attached to children, and suddenly he sees himself doing something that he will never have expected to do. So he's carried little by little by conflicting feeling. That certainly came from the Japanese side, and it was an enrichment for me.
Esteban, we will fight alongside you.
Mendoza, you're prepared to fight too?
Yes, we'll show these Olmecs how Spaniards fight their battles. They're in for a surprise.
Obviously, we had all read The King Fifth, but King Fifth is so far away from the story we are telling in the Cities of Gold. It's really the seed of the story, nothing else. But because of the obligation we had to deliver something which was educational and deliver the accurate information, we have this extraordinary mix of historical reality and fact. That mixture of the total free imagination and history and geography together made the Cities of Gold, and probably one of the reasons it's so unique. And we didn't know that. We didn't know we were doing something unique, but we did. We did, and because of the obligation we had vis-à-vis NHK and other partners. At that time, I was very fascinated by, all the myth of maybe the Inca civilization or the old South American civilization, after all, was maybe coming from another world outside the earth. Somehow that created the concept of the Olmecs. All, under the Cities of Gold concept was a concept of that we have 7 cities of gold around the earth. And that 7 cities of gold constitute a type of antennas to an outside civilization somewhere far away in the universe, which actually came to us at some point. And the Olmecs remain on the planet is why they have such an advanced civilization compared to the Incas. And obviously, we went overboard a little bit. We went overboard. The science fiction theme is a little stronger than probably NHK would have loved to have, but it was fun. Well, it was a necessity for us to bring a third character. We could not have carried the story, and that was the intention from the beginning, with only Zia and Esteban. It would have been a small circle couple love story. If the 2 characters had been Esteban and Zia, and they like each other and they're friends, finish. You don't have much to do. It's too balanced, it's too solid, it doesn't move. We had to create an imbalance in the 3 of them because Tao also brings something new. He brings the knowledge of the future. Tao has 2 things when we meet at the beginning, apart from the fact that he has a parrot with him, with a comic relief. He comes from a lost civilization of Mu. He has this knowledge of the lost civilization, and that knowledge is recorded in a book which is like an encyclopedia, but an encyclopedia of the future. We are somewhere back in the 16th century, and he has knowledge of things that are of the 21st century. And that knowledge, that book, and that knowledge is going to be used throughout because he is the open door, he is the memory of the past, which is somehow the access to the future, because that past was linked to the science fiction. Also, in the island, there is this fantastic boat called the Solaris, which is hidden inside the island. And when the island collapsed, because the people of Mu told him that the day it collapsed, there will be something new happening. And there is this fantastic boat called Solaris, which is a boat with the sail made of form of metal reflecting the sun and having a tremendous power. All that was element of the future. So Tao really is the first time where you meet science fiction. Cities of Gold is a series that you wish that will never stop. We didn't want to finish Cities of Gold, and I don't know, we had 7 cities in mind. Wow, in 39 episodes we cover pretty much one. We have written, we thought and we wrote at that time the series very much around the earth. And we knew that at episode number 40, for example, why 39 by the way? 39 weeks is the school year, I will say, outside the summertime. It's a 39 weeks. So NHK wanted 39 episodes. If you remember the last episode, the people are going apart at the end of that episode. At episode 40, we imagine the condor is taking off, and he's taking off north and go slowly have adventure pass and will go past Alaska and arrive in the northern part of Japan. And we wanted to have the second Cities of Gold to be in Japan. You know, at the end, I'm telling maybe too much here because we are working on a new series. I should not do that. But the father of Esteban, we believe he's dead because everything burned inside. And the mask burned. We see the mask, we don't see him die, but we see the golden mask melt and burn, and we believe everything is destroyed. Well, he survived. He survived. And he has been burned, very badly burned, but he survived. And we will find him again. After the second series, we wanted to have a third series where they will go down to Indonesia and Thailand, where you have all the cities of gold, Myanmar, and so on. And they will come back slowly to Europe on the other side and finish the circle by a city, a forbidden city in North Africa of today. Often I've been asked the question, how come the City of Gold has been such a success in Europe? And in Japan it was, modest, not a huge success. There is some fan, but not a huge success. Well, I think the two reasons are, first thing, NHK by the time was not traditionally the channel which had the biggest exposure when it comes to cartoons. That was one of the reasons. The other reason, the French version was the same look and the same thing, but the text, the text originally was written in French and in Japanese, but the French text, I don't know what to say, it gave a dimension to the character which was more in adequation with the character than the Japanese text. The Japanese text was a little cold, sounded maybe slightly translated to some degree. The Japanese editing version and the French English is different. It's not exactly the same editing. It's not exactly done the same way. The music, the beat, the special effect, all that is different. And all that made the series less extraordinary, less of a dream. And it's subjective, obviously, because it's cultural, but that's really the feeling I had.
The dogs, they've surrounded us.
When we reached the end, probably after working together too long, especially at the director's level, it was some little ego issue here and there. And also it was some obligation probably toward NHK to carry on with Japanese musician, different thing. For us, I was used to work with a musician named Shuki Levy. He came with a demo that we all loved, that brought a dimension, and it's what you have today.
Hi, my name is Shuki Levy, and I'm the composer of the music for Mysterious Cities of Gold. During the early 70s, I lived in London at the time. I went back to Israel to take part in the musical Hair, and I met Aviva over there. Aviva Pazzo was a very successful actress, and later on we decided to start singing together. For several years we toured and we were extremely successful until I've decided to move on to Los Angeles, and that's where I met Jean Chalopin, which I knew from Paris. And Jean is a very close friend of mine that I admire, and at the time he was working on some animated shows that he was co-producing, and suggested that I should try composing the theme song for some of his shows. That's how we started working together. My first project with Jean Chalopin was a show called Ulysses 31. After that, of course, came Inspector Gadget and Mysterious City of Gold, and on and on.
When I listened the first time to the Japanese music, because they proposed the music to us, it was like when I start to listen for the music in Ulysses 31, our first series we did in Japan. It wasn't a real music, it was a real big cultural difference. Because the music wasn't an adventure music, a symphonic music as I want, like Star Wars, like Indiana Jones, it's a kind of adventures movie. So the Japanese proposed a very soft music, So we decided to put another music, and we asked Shuki and Saban to do the music for the City of Gold and Ulysses 31.
Yeah, I usually draw my influence from the characters and the environment of where the story takes place. And that always kind of lead me to where I need to be with music. I always liked combining world sounds, and I did it actually first with Shuki and Aviva. I think that was one of the ingredients and reasons to our success. It was the combination of Greek bouzoukis and acoustic guitars and percussions, yet with the bass and bass drum that's hip and pop and all this. So when I first saw the whole synopsis for the show, I saw it as a fantastic opportunity to explore all those sounds, and that's what I came up with. The theme song was sung by a very close friend of ours named Noam. And Noam is a fantastic singer, and he's been with us since he was 11. He was very, very successful in France at the time, and then he moved to Los Angeles with us. So he performed the lead singing on the theme. I first met Bernard here in Los Angeles. At the very beginning, in the search for the sound and the theme, he was very involved, and we sat together and just by expressing his artistic view of the characters and the design, he helped me to create the music, and we worked really well together. I mean, once you click with a person and you're both on the same wavelengths, then it just flows.
To me, the music is a very important part of a film. If you have a good picture with a bad soundtrack, you do a bad movie. If you have a good picture and a middle average, with a good soundtrack, you do a good film.
Ready, Sancho? Here we go.
Let's go.
We had basically no money. We had to really find solution at every corner to make it possible. If you look at it today, you will realize that the animation is not that sophisticated. We just simply didn't have money. But we have great characters. I believe in character. I believe, today we are so obsessed by technology. And everybody look first and foremost at the technology. Oh, animation is great, but the public doesn't. The story is what matters. If the story is good, the characters are good, to some degree, the animation quality doesn't matter, because what rests is the reality of the character, the value of the character. We have to remember something. CLT in Europe was the only one taking a risk on that. They had a hard time, meaning CLT, to sell it to any TV station in Europe. Today, people take credit in Europe and France and say, oh, we have done that, we supported it, we recognize. Not true. Big lie. Nobody wanted the series because it was a serial, and people at the time wanted only series, episodic. And it was a serial with an ongoing story. Nobody wanted it. So it was NHK from one side, CLT on the other side, which was a small Luxembourg company supporting it. French television had not bought it. We had to force it into the French television. So doing the second series after that, the production took about a year. And to do a second series, to keep the team busy, and not to lose them going to another production and continuing, we should have kept going at episode 40 to whatever, immediately after. And that didn't happen, because a year later, we had not sold it in Europe. It was still only CLT's money, and great effort they did. Those people were fantastic. If it wasn't for CLT, it would never have existed.
At this time, we didn't do the following because in Japan they weren't a big success. But also we had we start to work a lot with United States, and we start a lot of animation, like Inspector Gadget. We were running, after the new things. Jean is planning to do a movie and a new series for TV, And we plan to do that maybe in 3D, but maybe not. We have to see what the first drawings will be.
We had a number of ideas, don't you think it will make fantastic movie, live-action movie with actors? We have a project right now of doing a feature film in animation, although we have been toying a lot to doing the same feature film in live action. What really makes us hesitate is the cost, because to do such a movie, you know, in the right way with the conquistadores, with the character, it's a big movie. So obviously it's that difficult, because that means it has to be a big studio movie, and we have to go through that long process of convincing some Hollywood studio that's the right thing, especially that the series has never been really exposed to the US. Only Nickelodeon back in the 90s, early 90s I believe, played the Cities of Gold, and at that time Nick was not seen by most Americans, was just a small cable in a corner. So the series has not been exposed to the US. If not, what fantastic series for that.
The first episode is always the one you remember, because you search for characters, for the right music, for the right sound, and always my best souvenirs are with the first episode on all the series I did. Maybe I watched this episode hundreds times, because when you edit a picture, you edit the music, sound, mix. It's still my favorite, because you put everybody and everything inside for the first time.
I wish I understood.
You know, success is something strange. When something happens, when something becomes successful, there is always this little ingredients. It's like the perfect cooking. You make a meal, and you have these little additional elements that sometimes because simply somebody push you when you put the sugar and you put a little bit more, and the taste is different. And for the City of Gold, that feeling that the success came in spite of what we have done, I have to say. That we are not totally the father of the success. Something unique about the Cities of Gold, if you look at it, is it doesn't obey any rule. It's not episodic, and all TV stations will tell you, oh, only episodic can work. Well, it's a serial. It works. Well, the TV station will tell you, you have to choose your audience. It has to be that age group, 4 to 6 or 6 to 12. It has to be gendered established, you know, girl or boy. Our Cities of Gold is not for the young, not for the old, it's for everybody. The heroes are both a boy, 2 boys, and a girl. There is a same number of fans of both genders. So the City of Gold breaks all the rules, and it still works at the end. Obviously, we didn't do that because we say, oh, we're so knowledgeable, we're going to break the rules and be good. No, we knew nothing. We were innocent and passionate, that's all. We did with our heart and imagination. And I think the fan recognized that.
Yes, the key ingredient for the success, and not just my success, I believe everyone's success, is to always connect your heart and your feelings to everything that you do. Because if you have fun with a project and you're dedicated with all of your energy and good energy, then I think it always pays back. I think people can feel that.
And then, one day, I achieved my goal at last. I found the gates to the Cities of Gold. Oh.
I discovered now more than 5 years ago, all the people, they watch a TV at this time. Now they're 36, almost 40 years old. They're raised with with Zia and Tao and Esteban, and they love them maybe on another way than me, you know. And I realized it was very important part of their life at this time.
The fan has been extremely devoted and faithful. They know more detail about the series than I do myself. Most of the time when I don't know about the series anymore, I go back in the internet site and learn or try to remember something I forgot. As I say, it's quite extraordinary. And today the support we have from the fan worldwide to do the new series and to do the movie is also extraordinary. So the only thing I will say to the fan is that please keep helping us, I tell you, in that world of television today, to do the second series as a serial. It's tough because TV stations give us no support whatsoever. They still have their own vision of things and we have no support. We will make it. We're going to make it. We'll be a second series. It will be a great series.
Someday we will find the cities of gold. Do-do-do-do-do. Do-do-do-do-do. Cities of gold. Children of the sun. Someday soon you're gonna find that your destiny holds the secret, holds the key. Someday